Let's see, MIDI is next. So here in MIDI, I have active MIDI inputs. And you can see here, I have MPC TOUCH public, MPC TOUCH MIDI ports. So I can go through the MIDI ports, and you see down here I have MIDI mapping. So I can have the MIDI output for port A, B, C, and D. Next, we have plugins. It's important to have some plugins, of course. We have VST plugins like EQ, reverb, compressor, a gate, some effects. And the new version of the Pro Tools OS 1.9.1 only uses VST, not RTS anymore. So we're going to go here. If you don't know what you've got, make sure you've got these items selected that say VST folders. If you don't have them, you can search for them right here. Use that to search for your folders on your hard drive. And once you do find them, we want to scan them. So I'm going to scan all the stuff on my drive here. It's going to scan and find out what's available and what will work with my MPC TOUCH software. Now, this is very important to do. I want to make sure that I can use what I have. And you may be like me. I've got a lot of different softwares, including Machine. I've got Logic, Pro Tools, a bunch of stuff that I have to use. So for lessons and for everything else, but it's important to know what you've got and keep up with it. Now, once this is done, maybe it'll take forever, maybe not so long, but once it's done, it'll say it's done. And you'll be able to use those plugins whenever you want to pull up an effect somewhere within the system. And you also have here a new scan. If you get new stuff, you can do scan new, or I could cancel that. But now it's done, scan complete, and I have a list, and I can scroll back up here top of my list and see what I have and what I'm going to use. And some, here we go, load failed. Some failed to load. So some have failed to load. So it'll tell you what happened, what did load, and what's usable. All right, next, we have auto load and save. So auto load works great when you've been working on a project and you may have took a nap or just hung out for a minute, had to go somewhere, come back, and you want to go right back where you left off. Well, you want to make sure you auto load the project you were just working on. You go in here, you look for it in your MPC folder if you saved it, and you bring it back up. You say, okay, whenever I close the software, I want you to auto load this file. Template. A template is a setup. This means I may have a setup I'm using for a club jam. Could be doing an album for someone, and I've got particular setup I want to use for different club drums or different bass guitars or different sounds I'm going to use. And I want to make sure I've got these samples lined up and also the setup for the MPC TOUCH. That's my template. I'll save a template, I'll find it and pull it up. Next we have autosave. This is important. Try to save as often as possible. I save every minute. Click here to enable that. Pick the time you want to have it saved, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5, or 10. Okay? Next, we have sequencer. These are just sequencer setups. For example, display resolution. It's going to display the PPQs. And the PPQs has to deal with the number of places I can place an event between the first beat and the second beat. 96 is a lot, but it's great because that way I can see them. Whether I go to 64th notes or whatever, I'll be able to see them. Or if I even turn off my time correction, I'll be able to move my notes anywhere. And it'll display in the grid. Next we have the playback, instant, track mute. No need for that. We have play, track, mute, and solo events. Yep. Then we have recording. I want to record track, mute, and solo events. Sometimes I do, so I want to keep that on. Record pad after touch events, of course. Place events recorded during the counting at the start point. This means I have a counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, start. And I hit just before the start. It'll make sure it places that directly on the start, not where I hit it at. Okay? Now next we have hardware, which of course is our MPC TOUCH. You want to adjust your sensitivity. In this case, I prefer it where it's at. Normal, normal. My pad curve is A, and I have my velocity set up right here. As you can see that, this is pad response. Hit a pad, you'll see your response. We have the controls for a foot switch if you have a foot switch or one or two foot switches, and display. Disable when MPC not running. Now that's something you probably already saw when you actually load the software. It's about making sure we don't have display mirroring. And next we have project, right? And so this means that default values set up for our MPC. Now this is how it comes from the factory. It's 120 BPM is the default tempo when you first launch your first sequence. There is no default master tempo. Okay, if you want to, you can set one up. There is a default number of bars, 2. Mine is set to 4. The default time signature is 4/4. And then the default pad slice. This is important for doing chops. I may chop a whole sample up. And I'll take that sample and put it on all the pads. That's kind of cool. I can also sync using MIDI timecode, MTC. And this is the frame rate for various film and I guess TV, where I can use 24 frames per second or 25 or 30 drop, 39 drop. We also have send. I can send out the MIDI timecode just in our MIDI clock for syncing. And we have device control as well and MIDI machine control.